Well, folks, we want to say good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, whatsoever part of the world you might be watching from. This is Focus on Liberia, and we are currently in Nascot Village. Nascot Village is located in Burville City, and this is electoral district number 17, Monserrato County. Before our camera is Mr. Wilmot Valhmu. He's Liberian based in the USA. He's in Liberia for vacation and and some family issue as well. But it's a privilege to have him before our camera. What are those things we're going to be talking? What are those things we're going to be discussing? We want to be discussing Liberia back in the days when Mr. Valhmu was young, and Liberia now. What are some of the pieces of advice he want to send out to young people? Mr. Valhmu, we want to say welcome to Focus on Liberia. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. I appreciate it.
Okay, that's good. Welcome to Liberia.
Yes.
Okay. How's the U.S.? How's the family doing?
Well, we're doing very well. I mean, my daughter and sons are still back in the States,
Okay.
and I just came here for a little bit to take care of a few personal matters, and so I'll be here maybe 2 or 3 months, and then I'll be going back. But the family are doing very well. I look forward to speaking to them, once in a while, and hope that I'll be able to see them soon.
Are you excited, being back home?
Oh yeah, yes. So actually, as I tell people, I had a sense of awe, and excitement, of being back home. There's nothing like home. Usually, I tell people it's like being home is like having an old favorite shirt.
Okay.
That you wear and you're comfortable and it just fits. And it gives you that relaxing sense of well-being. And so coming back home, I am really excited to be able to see friends. I'm excited to see the old, environment, the places that I grew up in, and also see family members. So it's been really fun being here. Really had a good time.
Are there plans to visiting some of the rural parts of the country before heading back to the U.S., like Don County?
Not yet. It's possible, but I haven't made definite plans yet.
Okay.
So we'll see. Mostly, I came to take care of these legal documents, and so that's what's consumed my time so far.
Okay, that's good. So let's keep the ball rolling now. Okay. Can you share some of your fondest memories of Liberia during your early years?
Yeah, I grew up in BTC, Barclay Treaty Center. My father was in the Liberian Army. He was a lieutenant in the Liberian Army. His name is Joseph Valhmu Sr. And so my brother Joseph, my younger siblings, and I all grew up in BTC. And, we walked bare feet and all of that. And so it was really a happy childhood.
Okay.
I tell people I grew up dirt poor, but I grew up a happy kid, and it's one of those things where happiness or sense of well-being is not so tied to wealth. So just growing up in BTC and the friends and family and the friends I had there, it's really one of my fondest memories. So I just have that as something that is a basic, foundation for me.
Okay. Well, where did you, get that motivation from? Because people like you during those days, some people might be, frustrated, the kind of life they were living. Maybe say, let me just give out. I can be like that. Let me do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But here you are,
Yeah, I mean, I tell people, one of the things I joke about is this, that when I was growing up, my pants, like short pants, used to be so worn out that my bag was short. It's like if you ever know what a thong is, like people wear swimsuit and they have it's they have it where some women in the States wear what they call thongs, and so it's like nothing on the backside, and so my pants used to wear out to the point that it looks like a thong. So, I tell people that as a joke, and so why didn't I feel deprived?
Yes.
I think it's probably the family situation. We were, even though we were poor, there were days we went without food. You know, we were hungry. We didn't have food to eat. You know, but still, I don't remember ever being a depressed kid or unhappy kid. I just grew up really, really, happy with my brothers and friends in the community, and so. It was one of those things. I tell people I never knew I was poor until I saw what other people had. So if you don't have a sense of being deprived, and you are in an environment where you have a support system, in Liberia we have the extended family. Family is very, very important because they can serve as a social network or social support that instills, sort of security in a way. When I grew up, my uncles were close to my age, so we grew up like brothers. And I have other relatives that were just my age, so I never was short of somebody to hang out with or enjoy being spending time with. So I really enjoyed that and appreciate it.
Did you ever play any sports?
Liberia, soccer.
What was that?
Football, soccer.
Okay.
In America, we call it soccer.
Okay.
But here in football was it. I mean, all 10 toes were sprung. So that's how much I played soccer barefoot. I'll have to switch back and forth. I played football barefoot in BTC in the hot sun. The sand was so hot, but we didn't mind. We would play out there by the open field, and that's how we usually play sport. I wish I knew how to play basketball, but I never learned how to play basketball. So soccer was it. I played soccer until 2011 when I tore my ACL.
Wow.
I was going to score a goal. Actually, I scored the last goal with 10 minutes left. I was going to score a goal, and somebody tackled me, and my knee kind of blew out, and I tore my ACL. But I still scored, so that was a consolation.
How was the atmosphere like when they see Mr. Valmont getting on the football field? You got some of those that used to really admire you on the field. How was that atmosphere?
I wasn't good. No. When I talk about playing until 2011, it was mostly because I was playing with people who were over 40.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So no. I mean, there are some friends of mine in Madison, Wisconsin, I really admire, who were excellent soccer players, like James Weah. I think he may have played with the Liberian national team or so, but he's pretty good. And another one that I also admire was I'm just blanking on the young man's name, but we regrettably lost him a few years ago.
Okay.
I mean, about a year or so ago. But they are excellent soccer players. But I play with them in Madison, old timers, and so that's how we enjoy each other. But definitely, my skill was more like the level where I just play for fun. I was as competitive.
In Liberia, attending school, what was that subject you could really demonstrate, you could perform well in, you could admire? Maybe when teacher comes to teach you and you're so excited about that. What was that subject? I
used to do well in school. As a first grader, I remember right outside of Monrovia Central Prison, there was an elementary school there that I went to in first grade. I did so well that my teacher, Mr. Freeman, I remember his name.
Okay.
He composed a song in my honor, and I remember that because it sticks with me, because that man made me feel that I could achieve by composing that song in my honor, because I performed well in school. Really helped me to know that I could do well. And then the next thing that happened was when I was in the 5th grade at G.W. Gibson Elementary School. I'm told that G.W. Gibson is now a high school,
Yeah.
but it was an elementary school at the time. It went up to 6th grade. But when I was in the 5th grade then, what changed my future trajectory was that I learned I learned the definition of the word scientist.
Scientist.
The simplest definition of scientist that was there. So I learned that a scientist is a person who studies science. So I thought, I am studying science, so I can be a scientist. Mm-hmm. So I said, if Albert Einstein can be a scientist, I too can be a scientist. Mm-hmm. So from there, my motivation, my future goal was to either become a doctor, an engineer, or an economist. Then it turned out that my older brother, Joseph, who is my late brother, Joseph Valhmu Jr., he went and became an engineer.
Okay.
So my reasoning was, we already have an engineer in the family, so I can be an engineer. So I decided to become a medical doctor or an economist. So I was working to become a medical doctor. So when I went to LU, I was a pre-med. And then I went to the States. And in 1983,
okay,
I went to the States and decided to do pre-med as well. But I found out the competition was so high that there was a limited space for medical school admissions. About 5% of students were international students, so it's very tough. So I decided I would take another route. I would go into studying, go to grad school. Have the opportunity, like have scholarships, what they call assistantships, and they pay for your schooling, and then you do research. So I went and enrolled in a research program. I enrolled as a PhD student at the University of South Carolina, and I was doing a 4-year PhD program. And so in the middle of it, I was so burned out. My plan to continue to medical school kind of went down by the wayside. But then I pursued my career as a scientist. So I became a biochemist, molecular biologist, and spent 40 years doing that. But definitely, when you say what was my motivation, just learning. I mean, like, I have people who encouraged me by their reactions. Also, there was I don't remember his name, but there were a few instructors when I was in the 5th grade. Then they would, we do a math test. They would get excited and take my test to go show other people, because there wasn't. Again, I'm not boasting. This is reality. This is what happened, and I'm describing what happened. I will complete my test without any erasers. Like I would put the answers down without any eraser. So they were surprised, and they were like Nigerian, Ghanaians that were teaching in the school, G.W. Gibson at the time. Those type of things kind of encouraged me, and I got double promotions and stuff like that at the time. So that was encouragement to me. So just recognizing potential. It's important that people believe in you, that you can do it. That helps a lot. So by those people reinforcing my self-confidence, knowing and recognizing my potential, helped me to now know that I could do well. And I could achieve. So those are the type of things that are motivations for me.
That's wonderful. Talk to me about the issue of discipline. Now, when you bring about discipline, there are too many laws. People say charai. How was discipline like? As a young student going to school, your days, discipline.
Yeah. I remember my dad. He was not abusive. But one thing I remember, he would say, if I did something, or my brother or anyone did something wrong, he would say, come here. And then would turn around, he would come, forebodingly, and then stand somewhere where he could reach us, and it's just one slap in the back. and that's it. That would be enough to sort of send us on the right path. And because of his stern, expectations was also great because he didn't allow too much, not failure, but messing around.
Right.
And so discipline was really something that you respected the elders, you respected your elders, people that are older than you. Even if you and I were about close to age, but you're older than me, I would respect you as my elder. So that's how discipline was. I mean, the children would respect their parents, and parents have very strict, disciplinary standards. And that's what I remember from those days, And I use my dad as an example, Joseph Valhmu Sr. He was a strict disciplinarian. But one thing happened when he had a granddaughter. He was very lenient with her. So we would send him he came to, we had him immigrate to America. He was living with us. And he was supposed to take his granddaughter to school. And so he would let her decide whether she wants to go to school. And so sometimes we just hang out as opposed to her going to school. So, I mean, if I had tried that at my age, I would be in trouble. Yeah.
Were there any time or day that somebody took your complaint to your dad? Maybe you did something wrong in the community or in school, and I'm going to complain you to your dad. Were there any time like that?
No. Well, in those days, I mean, school, they wouldn't usually take complaints to parents. In those days, they would discipline us in school. Like they had rattan, we would call it, a little switch. The teachers used to walk around with rattans, so, like what you make these chairs with nowadays. And if you misbehave, you get punished right away. And so we knew not to mess up. And so...
And your parent couldn't have power with teachers
not at all. In fact, you mess up at school and you got whipped and you went home and your father or mom found out, you would get additional whipping.
Oh, wow.
So that's how things were. No, we didn't. Yeah, actually, we didn't even need to have our parents informed about misbehaving in school because we would get disciplined in school before we even got home, and then our parents would probably discipline us again if they found out.
What about maybe people that were staying who were not your parent, biological kids staying with your parent? There's, more people have spoken to, they have said those days, children were not only, being restricted by people who are their biological parent. Maybe in the community, somebody who is older can restrict you. They might not be your parent.
Definitely. Again, one thing I respect and appreciate about Liberian society, maybe it's not true anymore, but it used to be, is that all adults in the neighborhood would hold children accountable. I mean, say at my age now, if I were back in Liberia then, if I saw a kid misbehaving, I could discipline that kid. And then he would run home or she would run home, and then her dad or his dad would find out that he was misbehaving. It would either reprimand him or even give him more punishment. Yes, parents in those days, adults in the middle, that's why I said earlier, we respected all adults. So if a child is misbehaving in the neighborhood, an adult could discipline him or her without having to get permission from the parents.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. What was the social and cultural environment like in Liberia during the old days? There were lots of, I just remember the what would be I didn't go to nightclubs, but what I was used to in terms of social environment, for entertainment, my sister-in-law opened a shop right next to the house here. But something like this would be all around the neighborhood, not right next to each other, but there was so many of them, and they would play music
continually. And so we would, as kids, we would go and hang out there. And also, when somebody was building a house and was not complete, and in the old days, they would put sand in the foundation. So we as kids, it was like when you talk about literal sandbox.
Yeah.
That's where we would play. So I remember, I left here in 1983, so I was like 19 years old at the time when I left. But so most of my memory of Liberia is when I was younger,
right.
A teenager and so forth. So those are things that I remember. But we would go and play there. People remember. I even have friends that I really fondly remember from those days, and I look forward to reconnecting with some of them. In fact, one of my high school buddies and I just had lunch the other day.
Wow.
After 44 years of not seeing each other.
Wow.
So those are the kinds of things, those are appreciation and bond. And there's another friend of mine, who, from high school also, that really, really blesses me about his expressions of appreciation for me and my late brother Joseph. Those are things. You don't have to do a lot materially to make somebody feel appreciated and worth something. Your expression of love and appreciation to that person can build that person up and make that person have a better day than not doing anything or saying.
Set in a few days from now, a couple of days from now, we will be celebrating Christmas, followed by the New Year. How was Christmas and New Year celebrated during your days?
Those days, Santa Claus. Liberian Santa Claus is not like the U.S. Santa Claus. The U.S. Santa Claus is dresses in a red suit with a hat with white trim and a nice pot-bellied white beard and all of that. And he is a symbol of Christmas. But Liberian Santa Claus was an entertainer.
Okay.
Liberian Santa Claus would dress up and would entertain the kids and everybody in the neighborhood, and we will follow him from place to place. Either singing and dancing along with Santa Claus. And Santa Claus was more like a Liberian Santa Claus was more like somebody who performed for change.
Okay.
So he would be performing. People would give him change. In the U.S., people would call it busking. Like a musician playing on the street corner. Yeah. In the U.S., we call busking. And so they would give him a little bit of money and so forth. That's what Liberian Santa Claus was like. And so that's how we enjoy celebrating Christmas. And another thing that I remember as a kid is during July 26th and Christmas, our parents would give us money, and we go to the market and buy a shirt, a pair of pants, and some shoes, socks and shoes. And then maybe whatever is left over we keep as change. Then on Christmas Day or July 26th, then we would dress up. Like after we eat and our gut is full, and then we go in the evening is when you don't get dressed up, just before. You don't get dressed up too early.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you don't not early in the day. It's okay. After you've eaten like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening. That's where you get dressed up, and you are in your nicest clothes, shoes, and pants, and you look nice. Every kid in the neighborhood did that, and then we would go around, celebrating. That's when we went and hung out with Santa Claus, and Santa Claus would entertain us. And then there was also at the Temple of Justice, the firework. There would be the firework at the Temple of Justice, and we look forward to that. Everybody in BTC, we were not too far from there, which the executive mansion is right there on the right side. On the left side was the Temple of Justice. And we could stand in BTC and see the fireworks. And so the fireworks would be shut up. And that was one of the highlights of our Christmas celebrations.
Oh, wow.
And July 26th too was awesome. I remember the drills, in BTC, it's like a big field with pavement around it, and we used to be proud of the Liberian soldiers, the Liberian AFL. Armed Forces of Liberia soldiers, they would march in formation. It used to be a grand celebration. When they marched, they marched in precision, and as a kid, we were just in all of that, and the band would play and all of that, and then of course the president would come and stand in the grandstand and all of that, and as kids we wanted to get as close as possible to see the president and everybody else. But but it was fun in those days.
Certainly, that's good. How will you describe the education system and opportunity for youth back then?
Back then, the Liberian education was a quality education. As I said, I went through. My beginning was in Anna F. Wisner Elementary School in BTC. I started in 1975. I was 1975. I was a teenager. The first time I went to school as a teenager, and I didn't know a single word. Not a single word. I didn't know how to speak English, so I had to learn English on the fly, in school, and so it was quality education. The teachers were very good, and they, as I said earlier, they had strict disciplines, but the quality of education was great. We had to learn basic facts. I don't know about critical thinking at the time, whether it was being taught, but whatever was taught to us gave us grounding to be able to do things like math. I was talking about G.W. Gibson, the teachers there, and how they were teaching us math and getting excited about the performances that we did in those school, perfect scores and so forth. They were really, really giving us good grounding. We took geography, we took history, we took science. In high school you have physics, biology, and
chemistry.
Those three were basic science, the basic sciences that we learned. And then on top of that, we did drafting, architectural drafting in Tottenham High School. One of my late friends, Daniel Mannion, a really, really great friend. I really, it kind of breaks my heart, and it still almost brings tears to my eyes to remember we lost Daniel. He was
I'm so sorry about that.
I didn't expect that. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Sorry about that.
We lost Daniel Mannion.
So sorry about that.
Yeah, Daniel was a very good friend of mine, and he was part of my drafting class. We were like 3 or 4 people that were very good in our class, drafting. He kept it up. He and another guy, I'm just blanking on his name, they even went ahead and started to do architectural designs of houses in Liberia, and they were. You go down Congo Town and other places, you see the type of designs and houses that were built in those days. Those kind of architectural drawings were done by Daniel and some of the others. The guy's name keeps coming and going, and I just can't bring it out, but I remember his name. So Daniel used to share, what he and these guys did at the time. So those are the subjects we took in classes. So can you imagine getting high school education, architecture drafting in high school, and then going and designing professional houses to be built. You didn't go to college for drafting. Out of high school, you did learn enough to be able to do architectural drawings that were perfect enough to build a nice house. So that's the kind of quality education we had back then. And it wasn't just in Tupman High School, it was in other places as well. So, and let me also mention that Daniel started a school in his hometown.
That's Grand.
I don't know, Grand Jide or
Grand Jide.
Yeah, Daniel started a school in his hometown.
Grand Jide.
And I'm blanking on the name of the school, but you know, he was really, in fact, when we lost him, he was working to prepare shipment for the school. And I pray that that school.
I know. I had some conversation with him.
Yeah.
And then he planned to come to Liberia.
Daniel, I mean,
he and I could have gone to Grand Jide where he had a school, you know, to do some documentary. It was just during that same week when I was surprised, you know, when I saw that he was dead.
Yeah. And if that guy had lived, you know, Daniel and I were planning, you know, he contacted me, you know, we were talking about building, you know, again, we don't have money. Okay, I don't have money. Daniel doesn't have money, but he was able to sacrifice and raise money to build a school in his hometown.
Right.
But one of our hopes was to eventually build science labs in the University of Liberia. And my background is in, you know, biochemistry, molecular biology. So I could bring, from my perspective, having done research, you know, basic on the bench basic science research, I could come and inform the design and or the setup of research lab.
Specific leaders or moment that inspired the people during your youth.
Oh yeah, I remember specifically President William R. Tolbert's total engagement for higher heights. Developments that were being brought in, you know.
Yeah, somebody just made a clarification. He was from Riverside, not Grand Jide.
Oh, Riverside. Okay,
yeah,
sorry,
Riverside.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there were. I remember again. I'm talking about when I was a teenager. I left here when I was about 18, 19 years old. So I was still a teenager when I left here. So most of my memories are when I was younger. So I remember when I was, you know, G.W. Gibson, Tupman High, when President Tolbert was, you know, promoting total investment for higher heights, and he would motivate the populace to contribute to development. $1, you know, at the time, Liberian dollars were one-on-one with on par with the U.S. dollar. So the Liberian dollar was, if you had one Liberian dollar, it was worth $1 US. So people would give maybe $25 or whatever they had, and it would then help to build the revenue that was needed to do some of the developments. The executive mansion used to be pristine, and it was one of the best presidential palaces in West Africa, and I would say in terms of grandeur, in most of Africa. But when I came back in 2004, I was really, really depressed to see how the executive mansion had changed. Instead of the marble, bright marble, facade and others, I saw the fences were painted black, which is really depressing to me. But again, things have been changed somewhat. Hopefully, it will continue to improve and make it better. But definitely, things are, going forward. I mean, sorry, I've just lost a train of thought in terms of what the question was.
Yes, I was talking about specific leaders or movement that inspired the people during those years.
Those years, of course, we had President Tolbert was one of the motivators. Again, I have to be careful about others in talking about inspiring people. So I would mention other people, but then it doesn't mean that endorsing those people. There were those that like G. Barkus Matthews, Tobana Tipute, Dr. Fambule, H. Boyman Fambule. Those are big, motivators. People like we have Albert Pope. You probably remember Albert Pope. He was a political critic. He would give Tober and others a hard time. Mr. Port's articles and others were usually hard-hitting, so we admire him and others in terms of his integrity and in terms of his integrity and commitment to the rule of law. So those are the people that really give us some guidance and inspiration. I would say the former president of the UL, Mr. Seyon.
Okay.
And before him, there was I just forgot her name, but this president before him was a lady whose name I'm just blanking on. Well, those were people that really inspired us at the time.
Wonderful. What role did religion and spirituality play in shaping the old Liberian way of life?
Yeah, it was very, very important. In fact, growing up as a kid, I became a Christian in 1975.
Wow.
Yeah, and so, no, actually 1976, because I became a Christian at the Hope Bible Club in G.W. Gibson. And then religion was very important. We would go to school. We had Hope Bible Club in the school. And then on Sundays, we would go to Maba Point. There was another area there where we would have fellowship. It was like a social club. And then if you ever remember, there was a place on Crown Hill, Capitol Bypass, where the Capitol Bypass curves and becomes Broad Street. Right there was a place there called the Coffee House.
Coffee House. Okay.
It was a social place for Christians to hang out. We'll go there. There will be music and everything. Just entertainment. Overall wholesome entertainment. So that played a very big role. I was a member of Providence Baptist Church, and again, I would say when I came back, I was really depressed to see how Providence Baptist Church has been gated off and all of that. In those days, there were no gates or fences around Providence Baptist Church. You used to have nice, clean steps up to the sanctuary.
Okay.
And that's when they had just built the new building. The old historical Providence Baptist Church is on Broad Street, but the one which we call the Ark, with the stained glass windows, that was just built. And it was new and pristine. There was nothing around it for security, like they do now for security purposes. And you could access it, you go in, and that's where I got baptized as a young Christian. So that played a big role in our lives, in government and other things. In fact, Bible was a subject in school. So yeah, religion played a great great role in Liberian life.
Okay,
and they have major influence on us.
So somebody said the former president name that you were asking for is Dr. Mary Antoinette.
Yeah, Antoinette Brown Sherman.
Sherman, yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes my old brain just kind of forgets stuff.
Yeah. So what were the major industries or sources of livelihood for people in your community?
Unfortunately, I would say back then, the government was the major employer in Liberia, but the industries that were here, I think of Firestone Rubber Plantation as one of the major employers back then. Of course, when you reflect over what was taken out of Liberia and what we received or what the workers got, there was a situation where you might say people were exploited and maybe are still being exploited, and the country is being exploited. It really hurts, me to understand that raw materials were taken out of Liberia and taken other places and made into end products and brought back to Liberia and sold at exorbitant prices. Why couldn't we process the raw material into end products in Liberia? And that's something that our leadership needs to emphasize. If we're going to take resources and minerals and others out of Liberia. Maybe build some factories and things that can process and produce end products. But thinking about industries, Lamco, the Liberia mining company, was huge back then. Then the Mana River area, there was diamond mining there. But as far as other industries, I'm kind of blanking on those. Apart from the, brewery. I mean, like I remember club beer. Of course, I wasn't old enough to drink a lot, but some of us did drink, behind our parents' back. Club beer, like a brewing industry, and others were really big in those times.
All right. So after spending time in the USA, how has Liberia changed from what you remember?
Yeah, for those who are on social media and possibly seeing some of my comments in recent times, I would say just a sort of in a nutshell, to me, Liberia has undergone massive retrogression.
Massive retrogression.
Yeah, meaning that things that we had that we could have improved upon have become worse. If you notice today in Liberia, there is barely any renovation and upkeep of facilities and homes, infrastructure. Renovation is really tough. I appreciate that there are new buildings and structures going up, but what about the old ones? The old ones, I mean, if I tell people how the quality of those older facilities and buildings compared to what is being built now, those have stronger foundations than here. If you were to take those homes, like some of the homes in Congo Town, some of the things in Sinkor and other places, even downtown Monrovia, maybe because of the weathering, because of the neglect, some of those become a little bit problematic engineering-wise. But if you were to take those buildings and rehab them, fix them up, they could be nice, structures to sort of, get rehabbed and things. So those are some of the things that my thoughts in terms of.
Well, that's good. And what do you think are the bigger challenges facing Liberia today?
Attitude, and it goes from the top down. The legislature, I hear, I sometimes see on social media some of the pronouncements, some of the talks that some of the legislators have. It's really disappointing, because the partisanship and all of those things, it's like they ought to be about the business of serving the people and not so much trying to be against one person or another. And so also in Liberia, you can't tell anybody what to do. Even your neighbor, whether he or she is doing something that shouldn't be done according to the codes, the ordinances that exist in the country and in the city, people will be violating that. You try to tell them that shouldn't be happening, and they'll tell you. Some of the quotes have been giving me: "Did you buy my house?" And all of that. Nobody can listen to anyone else admonishment. In the past, you could come to somebody and say, "This is possibly a better way. There's a better way to do this thing. Please don't do whatever you're doing," and maybe that person would listen. But now, what I see as a major problem in Liberia is the attitude of people who really feel that they can do whatever and nobody can tell them otherwise, and that permeates the whole society. And if you have that kind of attitude, it manifests in traffic, the horrendous traffic. I see people sometimes walking and it turns out that they will almost get run over. The pedestrians almost get run over by either the motorcycles or kekes. And I'm thinking, well, didn't you see that person? and so it's more, again, in some way I understand why it is happening that way.
Yeah.
Right now you have about 1.76 million people in the city of Monrovia. When the city was not built to hold that many people, before the war, the city population was probably between 350,000 to 500,000 people. So you have 1.6 million, that's about 4 or 5 times the people. So everybody is hustling to make a living. And if you were to try to get transportation, public transport, if you are standing there and being nice, you probably won't get one. So I can understand why people would behave that way, but it's not the ideal way for us to live. So that's one of the attitude is a major problem. And the second problem I see is maybe a lack of accountability.
Okay.
Again, from the top down. If you look in this neighborhood, NASCAR Village, you see that the streets have the street signs, but none of them is paved. I'm told that during Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's administration, when this community was designed and built, the plan was to pave every one of the streets in this place. It is nicely laid out. You got street crossing streets, intersecting streets, but the streets are now like footpaths and no pavement. The project came to a halt, and was abandoned when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf left office. That's what I'm told, and it shows. So you come here, you came in, you saw First Street. First Street. We're on Second Street. Behind us is Third Street. At the intersection here is another street, and down there is another street. But those streets are like footpaths. Nobody ever thought about completing the project and paving those streets. You go and talk to somebody now who will have any accountability for the lack of completion of this project. So that's another thing. Lack of accountability is another issue that is a major problem. And last one I want to mention is the drop and the degradation of quality standards in Liberia. We drive on United Nations Drive from down Waterside or Waterside Market all the way to VOA Junction in Brewerville. The road is horrendous. And they're doing construction there. And I sound critical. I sound like I'm always negative. But I raise these issues so we can take note of them, that we are not content. We're not content to live like this. We can do better. We shouldn't settle. I mean, maybe, and I tell people, I don't know about the younger generations, those that are maybe 40 years and younger, maybe don't know what things were like back then. How, another thing I noticed, compared to downtown Monrovia, you go downtown Monrovia, do you see street broken up? No. The streets are still intact in downtown Monrovia.
Yeah, they are still intact.
But go cross the bridge into Bushra Island. At the moment you cross the bridge into Bushra Island, the streets are crumbling.
Right.
Because those were built in more recent times, whereas the streets in Monrovia downtown were built maybe 60, 70 years earlier. Those are built even in down Waterside where there is crowded. The streets are still holding up.
Yeah, they are still holding up.
Because they were solidly built. The quality back then was great. Now, you go to, United Nations Drive, they're trying to repave the streets. And I was amazed, the workers were carting away twisted steel rods from the old broken up road. And they were replacing the road with slabs of concrete, but no no steel reinforcement. And I'm thinking, how long would that last? You're going to have pressure, forces acting on it. You're going to have tensile or stretching forces. You're going to have compression and all of that. And then the loss of vibration that is going to be happening with the cars going back and forth. The vibration is just going to cause that concrete slab to sort of crumble. And then you're going to get subsidence, which is the compacting of the ground under. How well did they compact the ground before laying down the slab? If it's not well done, guess what? There will be sinking of the ground under the slab, and that slab is going to crack. So I wonder, the engineers, they know. I mean, we have access to the internet. We have access to everything. Have they not seen other countries? Have they not seen other places, how they do construction? Why is it that we're doing it different in Liberia and much shoutedly? I mean, that's what I say to young people: do not settle. This is not what we should be satisfied with. We can do better, and we should demand to do better. I'm not saying go out and demonstrate. Okay, people shouldn't misread me. Demanding better doesn't mean go out and demonstrate or cause some riots in the street. But of ourselves. Well, another thing I tell people is that we complain about our leaders and the lack of accountability. But where do our leaders come from?
From the community.
They come from us.
Yeah.
So if we are not accountable, we're not people who are ethical, guess what? Our leaders will not be accountable. They will not be ethical.
Certainly, yeah.
So if we want our leaders to be accountable, we want our leaders to be ethical, we ourselves have to be accountable and ethical. It starts with respecting your neighbor. If your neighbor has an issue and comes to you and want to reason with you, don't become all in arms and say that none of your business, you don't talk to me and stuff like that. So yes, we should hold our leaders accountable. We shouldn't let them get away with corruption and misuse of public funds. But at the same time, we too have to be people who are also holding ourselves accountable.
Certainly. Well, viewers, if you're just joining us, we are in conversation with Mr. Wilmot Valhmu. He's Liberian based in the USA. Some of the things we are discussing, we are talking about back in the days, the old days, when he was young, and we're talking about, the current generation, some of his, pieces of advice as well to the young folks. So I want to say thank you so much. Those of you following, Nehemiah Gbagba is following as well. And many of you who are following, thank you so much for following us. Back to this question, how do you view the current state of leadership and governance in Liberia, especially the Bouakai administration?
Yeah, right, I can't, again, this is my perception. Reality might be different, but I wish there were urgency about taking care of the major infrastructure problems. You can't have Roberts International Airport highway, the highway to Roberts International Airport. Mm-hmm. That highway used to be paved. As I said before, the 60, 70 years ago, the roads were well built. Roberts International Highway also had, even though it's 2 lanes, it used to have in it embedded reflectors so that cars driving at night will know which way the road is turning so you don't run off the road because the reflectors were there. You can follow the reflectors. Yeah. So when I came this time, about a week, 2 weeks ago, we were driving through. Some of the parts of the road have been totally stripped off and not replaced. When would they be replaced? The same thing with Butcher Island, United Nations Drive. You can't just go and do a total stripping of the surface of the road and leave it. You have to strip and build, rebuild, and then go to the next section, strip and rebuild. You can't strip the entire road and leave it, and then when will it get done? Then the problem is, because of congestion, people will start driving on the area where they shouldn't be driving, and then there will be potholes that will be breaking off of the surface, and you have massive dust problem. So, as far as our leadership is concerned, I would hope that the leaders would really take these things urgently and make sure that we address the problem. Another thing, people may not be happy with me by saying this, the Liberian government should stop the practice of giving development funds to legislators to go and do development projects.
Yeah.
They are not technocrats. They are not engineers. If you want somebody to go and do the work, get contractors. Pay contractors to do the projects. Maybe the legislators can say, this is my priority. I want the government to budget whatever. This is the priority. Let me advocate for that and then get that into the budget and then get contractors, the Ministry of Public Works, and go and do the work. Do not give money to legislators, because maybe that's why when administrations change, the projects get abandoned.
Right.
The money disappears.
Money disappears. Yeah.
So if the money was in the account of the Ministry of Public Works, you change administrations, that account will still exist. But I don't know what's happening when administration changes and then the money is given to the legislator, and what happens after that? Why is it that the projects like the Nice-Corp Village project was dropped after Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's administration, and the roads that were supposed to be paved were never paved? What happened to the money that were not used to pave the roads? So those are the kind of things I want our legislators to think about. Yes, it's important to pass laws, but we also have to obey the laws that we pass.
Certainly. What are your thoughts on Liberia's youth and their potential to drive change?
I don't know. Again, I haven't been in Liberia for many years, so I don't know exactly what the youth are thinking, and I can't say exactly what their understanding of the issues are. But from what I've been told, anecdotally, that you go to talk to the youth about what can be done and how things were in the old days, they will say, "Oh, the papi,
yeah, you're there.
That was then." So I would really encourage the youth to think positively, listen to advice. Not everybody that's coming to give you advice is trying to get into your business or put you down. Listen for what it's worth. And again, my overall advice to youth is, please do not settle for what we have today in Liberia. This is not what Liberia should be. Remember, we used to have Air Liberia. Liberia was running an airline. We had Mount Coffee hydroelectric plants. We had, as I said, 6, 7, 8 cinemas for entertainment in the city of Monrovia. Hotels that were, that were internationally known, like Ducor Intercontinental Hotel, Hotel Africa. All of those were things that were internationally known and nationally known, and we were proud of. Those are all gone. And we need to get back to that level